Hello everyone. Now I fixed all the issues with my very first AI agent, which actually helped us to increase the coverage of any GitLab repo and a GitHub repo. Right now, it is in a very initial state. So right now, it only does this magic for a Python-based repo. And I verified this a very simple repo which I created. If you just see, this is the GitLab repo where we have repo under AI control. We have one package where we have three different Python files, advanced operation, it has a bunch of functions written over here. And then we have test. You see, we have three Python files, but we have only two test files. Intentionally, what I have done is I didn't created any test for the third file. And here we have four different test cases, but if we just look at, the corresponding file, calculator one, and let's see how many functions we have. We have lot many functions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 8 functions, so there are some missing coverage, right? Now, I have run this just to ensure after fixing all the bugs, I just try to run this to see what happens, right? So if you just see the coverage summary, right? Initially, when I started with the current state of a repo, it was having 7 test cases, and it was having a 58.33% coverage. But after running the workflow, it just increased by 100%, right? And if you just see this repo, we have only 2 test file, right? Test calculator and test statistics. But if I just show here, right? See, you can on my palm PyCharm and we can see 4 different file, new file. So I prefix the test underscore generated, then the corresponding file name for which it is creating a test, right? So we can see 5 different file in the test folder for the same repo just got added by this workflow, right? And as I mentioned, this video is a continuation to the previous one. So if you haven't watched my previous video where I just gave you the very high level, overview of this, if you would like to see before watching this, I mean, you can do that. But if you don't want to do it, I mean, it's okay, right? Just to make this workflow easier to understand, what I have done is I just I just created a button for each and every feature, but I just keep it this run workflow where the actual, magic is happening. The main logic is written in this run workflow. Just to run this entire application, I am running, the Twin 2.5 coder, 1.5 billion, the model with the help of Olama. It is running in my local. So whatever data is being sent, when, it wants to create a new test cases for the missing line of code, then everything is in my local. Nothing is being sent to any other large language model server, right? So it's safe from that perspective because right now it is pointing to my locally running large language model. So I covered the repo, I covered the large language model setup, and just a very high level overview of the code, right? So right now, this is the main file where we have all the logic written for the entire AI agent, right? I just wrote almost 900 lines of code to just achieve this. I know it's too much, but I love to do coding and I'm really enjoying that, right? It's then we have a Flask based web UI, right, which you can see. This is the web UI. So backend code is actually written in with the help of Flask. So this is still running. So we are good there, right? So now this is all which is needed. So now what I can do is I can again, so you can see, this report is very awesome. I just put every information which I feel that could be good thing to just show you, right? So I showed you that how much percentage just got increased without even any manual intervention. You don't have to code it. You have all that code creation for new test for missing line of code is going to be done by the AI engine. You can see the detailed report as well, right? I mean, how many iteration it took to fix the newly added test cases. Here you can see there are 4 iteration to get this done. In one iteration, the very first iteration for the advanced operation, it got fixed. For the another one, it took, all the 5 just failed. That's okay. Then for this one is just one. So these are just more in-depth analysis. I mean, if you really want to see how the things are happening by the AI agent, right? So this looks very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to restart the entire process so that you can understand how the flow works, right? So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the clone repository, right? So, but what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm just going to delete this folder so that we can see the things. All you need to do is, let me just refresh this. Here you have to just choose the GitLab repo on which you want to run this AI agent, right? So I'm just cloning that. So I remove that clone repo. Right now, I'm just trying to. So we can see the repository cloned successfully. So we can see, okay, so now we have two test file, are all those three files. So it looks good. Here, if you just come back to UI now, once it gets successfully cloned, then we can see this message. Now we can run the coverage. It's going to run the coverage with the current state. And now we know that advanced operation, we have 4 lines which are not having any kind of coverage. We can see the detail like what all 4 lines are not covered. We can just see entire detail, right? And this is where we're going to run our workflow, and actual magic is going to happen here, because this workflow, what it's going to do, it's going to take out all those missing line of code for the corresponding file, create a request with the large language model, but it is going to provide the complete and the relevant context based on the missing line of code. And that is how, that request will send to the locally running large language model, right? And it will just get, the new test cases created, right? And once that new test file get created, it try to run it. If it fails, then again, it create the request for the large language model with a proper failure, what kind of failure it is seeing, and some context it will set, and it will ask to fix that. And this happens until, all the failure for the newly added test cases is done, right? So now let me run the workflow. Once we run the workflow, we're going to see the same kind of report, which I just explained you in the beginning, right? Here, we can see the things have started, right? You can see these line of codes which were not being covered, like functions, mean function was not being covered, and all those kind of stuff. So it's keep asking, large language model. We can see a lot of internal errors and all those kind of stuff. That's okay. What I wanted to show the next thing is, here is, this locally running large language model. You can come here and you can see, the log as well. If you would like to see, what's happening, what kind of requests are being sent and all those kind of stuff. This is just for the debugging purpose. Okay, so this looks good. And you can see, it's keep running, keep adding all those things. Okay, so now we can see one test file is just got created. Just got added. And it's still running, let's keep running, and it's keep adding those new files. And it is going to take time depending upon, how powerful machine you have, where your large language model is running. So if you have a very high-end machine, this process is going to be a little faster. But since it's running in local and my machine is not configured with that high-end resources, and it's not having a dedicated GPU, but I have a different machine, probably, I will just take this entire setup on that new machine where I have recently just upgraded my GPU from 3060 to 4060. Initial observation looks good, and probably I will run the same AI agent over there and see how much improvement we can see in this workflow. Okay, so it's still running and it's going to take time, but this is how it's gonna work. So see, I am not writing anything. All the things are being done by the large language model for me, right? So what I'm gonna do next, now, as I just splitted this entire workflow, this clone repository run coverage is not something where we need any kind of intelligence. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add these two things into the run workflow as well, right? So that we don't have to just, run these separate processes. We can just run the main workflow, which is going to run the entire thing for us. And at the end, we're going to see the report, which I just explained in the beginning. And we're going to have, the test cases are being added. Now we have 4 files, started with 1, now we have 4 files. Okay? Let's see. This is still running because it seems like there are maybe some failures or things are still failing. I can see one fail. So what happens is keep running in a loop, right? So this is what it does, and it's really amazing. I'm really amazed and surprised, right? Because this is the main problem I have been facing in last 90 minutes, right? I always have to have a dedicated QA folks, in my team to ensure that, the quality of the code is being maintained. But still, there are a lot of situations. I'm not sure whether having this process in place or this AI agent, I don't know how much, coverage I'm going to get, but this looks very promising now. You can see this entire thing has been done. If I just show you, these are the 4 newly added uh, test cases added by these 4 new files. You can click on that and you can see how it looks like, so some additional things, statistics, right? So it looks good. Advanced operation, it also looks good. Amazing. Now, if I come back here, we started with the 50% and we achieved 100%, 2 files improved, newly added lines are 35, overall 50, 100%. And we can see how many iteration it took, for advanced operation. It seems like it is not able to do it after 5 iterations, same thing with calculator, right? We can see all those detail. I know there are still few things which I really need to fix, but I'm not worried about that because the accuracy is this locally running large language model is. I'm not expecting that to fix everything, right? But it's a very small 1.5 billion, parameter large language model, right? So if I just go for the higher number of parameters, then definitely the accuracy will get increased. The consistency of the response will also get increased depending upon the context is not being changed very significantly, right? So I am really amazed to start, creating this AI agent. This is very first AI agent I just created for my use case, for my problem. And it seems like this is not only the my problem. I think it happens in every software project. We always face this issue where, we deal with a lot of production bugs where we felt that if we would have tests, if we would have, have a comprehensive testing, around our repo, then we could have, avoided some production bugs, right? And this really gives, more confidence. And now all you need to do is to just put the code and run this AI agent automatically. It will create all kind of reports for you. It will create all kind of test cases. To start with, you can just monitor this, and I know I need to add a lot of intelligence into this. We can create the merge request as well, so we can do that. Right now, I'm just doing outside workflow, but that part can also be embedded within a workflow, so we don't have to do it. That's really awesome, right? I was not aware, I mean, I started learning artificial intelligence in the last 3 weeks, and I'm really amazed, the kind of power it is giving to me. I never thought that after 20 years of experience, I will still be doing a coding, but now I'm really enjoying doing the coding. And writing 1,000 line of code in just few days with the help of these large language model is really, really amazing. Just see all these line of codes. I just, get the help of large language model to just create that. The only tricky part is you should have a very clear vision, like what kind of problem you want to solve and what kind of solution you want to have for it. Right. So that's the only thing which you need to take it. So that merge request has also got created. So we can come here and we can quickly see the merge request here, whether we have that merge request created successfully or not. Okay, we have that message here which says that the request is created. See, okay. Now we can see this merge request is created just 52 seconds ago. And this is the same request which we can see on our API or on UI, right? Now we can see the changes and we can see all those 4 newly added test cases, are being shown as changes. So see, entire process is automated and we don't have to rely on any QA. I'm not saying, I'm just kidding on this part, right? I know we have to add a lot of intelligence, but to start with, this is really a very awesome start in my opinion. But what do you guys feel? Please feel free to put that into the comment section. And I really need to see the review comments on this and the feedback and the suggestions which you guys are having so that I can just keep adding the more intelligence into this AI agent and to see that, most of the folks who are still facing, those issues where the test coverage is not up to the mark, they probably start using that. And I will just create the repo, for this and I will just push the code which currently I'm having. So thanks for watching this, and as always, stay healthy and keep learning a new thing. And if you really like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, keep learning new